All right, let's talk about one of the most common, and let's be real, one of the most frustrating little mysteries for anyone learning English. There is a secret rule that once you see it is going to instantly make your sentences sound way more natural and professional. So, let's dive right in.
Have you ever had that feeling? You write something, or maybe you say it out loud, and you know all the words are correct, but there's this little nagging voice in your head saying, a native speaker might say that differently. It's a super common experience, and today we are going to pinpoint exactly why that happens.
Okay, so check this out. The difference here is just one tiny two-letter word, to. But getting rid of it, it completely transforms the sentence. It goes from sounding just a little bit clunky to something that sounds sharp, confident, and professional. And the key to knowing when to drop that extra word, well, that's exactly what we're about to uncover.
And here it is. This is the secret. The whole concept comes down to understanding something called transitive verbs. Now I know, that sounds like a super technical grammar term, but I promise you the idea behind it is incredibly simple, and honestly, it's a real game changer.
So, what is a transitive verb? Well, to put it simply, it's an action verb that has to land on something. The action transfers, see, that's where the name comes from. It transfers from the person doing the action, the subject, to the thing receiving it, the object. If there's no receiver, the sentence just feels, well, broken.
Think of it like throwing a ball. The subject is the person throwing. The verb is the action, the throw. But what happens if nobody's there to catch the ball? The action isn't complete. A transitive verb needs a catcher, what we call a direct object, to receive that action and make the whole sentence work.
Okay, so the concept makes sense. But let's get practical. How do you actually use this? I'm going to give you a super simple tool, a little mental check you can run on any sentence to see if you're getting this right.
This is it. This is your new grammar superpower. Seriously, after you use an action verb, just ask yourself the question what or whom. If a noun right there in your sentence directly answers that question, then congratulations, you've got a transitive verb, and you absolutely do not need an extra little word like to or of to connect them.
All right, time for the fun part. Let's put on our grammar detective hats and use our new tool to solve some of the most common errors people make. Let's open our first case file.
Okay, here's a classic example, especially in a professional setting. He lacks of experience for the role. It sounds so close, doesn't it? But it's not quite there. Let's figure out why.
Okay, let's run the test. The verb is lacks, so we ask the question, he lacks what? And the answer is right there in the sentence, isn't it? He lacks experience. And boom, there's our proof. Because experience directly answers our what question, the verb lacks connects straight to it. No of is needed. He lacks experience. See how clean and direct that sounds?
Okay, next case. You see this one in emails all the time. I will contact to the supplier today. Again, it feels like it should be right, but it's just a little bit off.
Let's use our tool. The verb is contact. Now, this time we're talking about a person or a company. So we ask, you will contact whom? And the answer is crystal clear, the supplier.
And that tells us everything we need to know. Contact is a transitive verb. The action goes directly to the supplier. So that little to just gets in the way. I will contact the supplier. Sounds much better, right? Here's one you'll hear in meetings all the time. We need to address to this issue immediately. Now, everyone knows what you mean, but we can make it sound so much more professional. By now, you know the drill. Let's run the check. The verb is address, so we ask, we need to address what? And of course, the answer is this issue.
And there you have it. The action of addressing goes directly to this issue. No little helper word needed. We need to address this issue. It just sounds stronger, more decisive.
Let's do one more classic case, this one about giving presentations. The presentation will cover about the quarterly results. This is another one I hear all the time.
Okay, last one for this round. The verb is cover. Let's ask our magic question. The presentation will cover what? And the answer is clearly the quarterly results. And because the quarterly results is a direct answer to our question, we know cover is a transitive verb. That word about is just extra baggage. It's simply the presentation will cover the quarterly results. Perfect. Now for a quick little bonus tip that's slightly different but related to removing unnecessary words. Take this sentence. Let's go inside of the meeting room.
This is another super common error. But here, the word inside is already doing the job of telling us where we're going. So adding of is just redundant. You can just say, let's go inside the meeting room. It's cleaner.
So you might be wondering, why is this mistake so common? Well, it's usually not a random error. It often comes from how sentences are built in your native language. See, in many other languages, you actually need a little linker word, a preposition, between the verb and its object. So the trick is just retraining your brain for English and remembering that a lot of our verbs are strong enough to connect all by themselves.
Okay, let's do a super quick recap to make sure this all sticks. First, transitive verbs need a direct object to catch their action. Second, your secret weapon is to just ask what or whom after the verb. And finally, just try to remember that common verbs like lack, contact, address, and cover, they just don't need that extra preposition. Really, this is all about building a new, better habit.
So what you've really done today is learn how to see an invisible rule of English, one that makes a huge difference in how natural and fluent you sound. And it just goes to show you that understanding why the rules work is so much more powerful than just memorizing a bunch of corrections. So I'll leave you with this thought. What other invisible rules are you ready to see and master next?